Self-improvement will not help you quit pornography. Look at all of these examples. Hamza is a big self-improvement YouTuber. He's gotten like 3 million subscribers right now, and he still had problems when he was doing and living his best life. He was meditating every single day. He was taking care of his mental health. He had a girlfriend. He was working out, etc. All of these good habits, all of these things that supposedly reduce the desire for pornography, and yet he was still watching it. Same with Larry Wheels. Larry Wheels is a very big YouTuber, he's a very big Instagram influencer, and he has competed in bodybuilding competitively, but he still had problems with cam girls. Even whilst he had a girlfriend, he was spending like thousands of dollars on them every single month. Same with Terry Crews. Terry Crews is a very big actor. I think many of you may know him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine or some other movie, and he still had problems with pornography even whilst he was making so much money. He had so much fame, so much attention, and so all of these things, you can get them, you can get money, you can get all of these things, and it will still not get rid of the pornography problem, because pornography is inherently a problem of a different matter. Same with James Hetfield of Metallica. He still had problems with pornography and lust and whatnot, and that resulted in him cheating on his wife. Same with Terry Crews, who ended up doing it because of pornography. So pornography exists separately from any belief that you may have about money, about loneliness, about anything else. It contributes to it, but it isn't the main reason why it happens. So why should you trust me? I am Vansh, and I had a problem of over 9 years. I've been free for 1.5 years, and I completely quit. It went cold turkey. I have no urges, no problems, no thoughts. I've also helped multiple people, like Ben, who was my client from UK, and I helped him quit pornography during his A-level exams, and he ended up getting A's and A stars because of it. Same with Rehan, who's a national level junior golfer, and I helped him quit pornography, and it resulted in him getting serious about his life, getting serious about his discipline, getting attraction from girls. Same with me, where quitting gave me the confidence to be more outwardly, to gym consistently. It gave me more time, more self-esteem, and many other benefits which you can get, as well as freedom, if you follow my path on Dominant Mind, which is a course I'm building, which will be on pre-sale right now. If you buy it right now, you will have a super big discount, and I will address your specific problems regarding pornography, as you will be able to give me feedback. So why does pornography not go away when you are doing all of these habits, like gymming, like taking care of your mental health by meditation or journaling or any other things? Because you are taking care of the symptoms. You are trying to get rid of the little problems rather than addressing the big problem. Imagine this is a plant, this is a weed that you don't want, right? You want to get rid of this plant. What you're doing is taking 1 or 2 leaves here and there, and then just getting rid of those, instead of getting rid of the whole plant. These are the little problems that you're focusing on right now. Like, I feel unconfident because of pornography, so guess what? I'll maybe go to the gym. That makes sense, but lack of confidence is not the problem that pornography is causing. That's one of its symptoms, but it's not the inherent problem. So what we need to do is figure out the big problem, and that is the root cause of why you are currently having problems with pornography. And when you figure that out, it will become so much easier to get rid of it. So what you will be able to do after you understand it, after you figure out the reason, is address the reason and pull it out by the damn roots and finish it forever. This will mean that you won't have to fight forever with willpower, with blockers and anything else, or have forever anxiety relating to it. You can actually be free, not just in your actions, but in your mind too. And this is what I'm teaching. So why does self-improvement not work? Because it's fixing a very specific problem, okay? So imagine that you have some problems, right? Let's say that it's your job. You may be bad at it. Maybe it's your girlfriend, or there of lack of it. Maybe it's your homework, or you haven't completed it and it's just piling up and piling up. Maybe it's your work. Maybe it's someone's death who was close to you. The point is that problems are never ending. Even if you solve one problem, you will trade that set of problems for another set of problems. That's how it happens. So what problems do is they cause us stress. Stress could be from any negative emotions, right? It could be from grief, from sadness, from anger, from anxiety. And what you end up doing is go into short-term coping. Short-term coping is, instead of solving the inherent problem, you are solving the emotions. You are trying to get rid of the emotions rather than get rid of that problem. And that means that you go for drugs, alcohol, weed, porn, YouTube, reels, anything, and basically you're trying to chase numbness, you're trying to avoid the problem, you're trying to avoid the emotion, because guess what, the emotion will not go away. I'd argue it will worsen if you don't address the inherent problem. And what this kind of emotion-based coping does is it doesn't fix the problems but adds new ones. So look at the job, right? You had one assignment in the job, and because you didn't fix it, now you have two assignments. You had loneliness because of not having a girlfriend, and that loneliness just continues to increase and increase. Your homework continues to increase, your work continues to increase. Let's say because you didn't address the grief that you had, the amount of guilt, the amount of sadness that you feel also continues to increase. And now, because of all this, you've added another porn/addiction problem, which you will also need to take care of, otherwise it will also increase. So that's something that you need to understand. Now, what is the point of this? Are you just forever stuck in this? Absolutely not. The fix is that you actually start solving the damn problems, and that means SBC, or solution based coping. So the base thing that you need to understand is that when you start fixing for the solutions, you will have another sets of problems, right? These problems are never gone. You just trade one set of them for another, right? So for example, if you defeated a boss on level 1, you will now need to defeat a boss on level 2. But the point is, you will get stronger and you will start to enjoy it. That is what SBC, or solution based coping, means. You, as you get more competent in it, as you get more efficient in it, as people start to praise you more for fixing the problems, you will inherently have more of a desire to fix them. And hence, you start doing that by the RAID method, which means you first refocus. Instead of focusing on your emotions, you start maybe using them as fuel. Like, I'm feeling negative because I haven't fixed the homework. That's fuel for me to work at the homework rather than running away, right? The second thing you do is analyze the problem. So let's say it's homework. You really start to define it, and hence when you start defining, you know exactly what to do. Then you analyze the problem and you see the patterns that you are committing with it, or the patterns that you need to fix it. And then you identify the problem, the specific problem that's holding you back, and then you kill it. The most simplest example I can give is something like homework. Let's say that you had to do maths. So first you figure out what is it specifically that you have to do in maths. It's a trigonometry. Okay, you need to do trigonometry, and you're doing something like Pythagoras theorem and SOHCAHTOA or whatever else, right? So what you do is understand that you need to do exercise 1A to 13B, and you do it then. You try and you fail at 10 of the exercises, but that's all right, because you start to see why you failed it, right? And when you understand, you extract the lessons out of it, you repeat it, the exercises, then you figure out that you only failed at 3 of them. You repeat it again, and you again understand that you repeat, and then you repeat it again, and then you understand that you failed at 0 of them, and you had a 100% success rate because you put in the work. Hence, you achieve pride, you achieve a baseline level of self-esteem, you achieve more self-efficacy, which means more trust in your abilities, and the same method will apply to more complex problems. This is a very simple example, but I'm sure you can figure it out. Hey, before we get further into the video, I want to make sure that you like and subscribe and comment, because it will help other people find the video and actually help them get towards freedom like you are doing so right now. There's also a course which is in pre-sale right now. So if you're interested in that, because the price will only continue to get higher, then there's the link in the description below. So one thing that you need to understand is that whilst going to the gym or doing all of these things will help reduce the urges, reduce the desire for pornography, it will not take it away, because pornography is a desire based on 2 things. First is fear, and secondary is your self-limiting beliefs about it, your brainwashings, your misconceptions about how your body works, how your mind works, what your mind wants, blah blah blah. And this is what you need to figure out. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the gym. Let's say if you're insecure about being weak, then you go to the gym to fix that. It will improve your self-efficacy, which means the trust that you have in yourself will increase, and that's a very good thing, but it's a bonus thing and not the main thing that will solve your problem. So do you go to a dentist for a heart problem? So why do you go to the gym or to meditation or to normalize journaling for pornography? What you need to do is go to the specific problem that porn is causing you, and hence fix that. The true problem for porn or any addictive behavior, much like anything like the loop keeping you trapped here, is getting rid of the self-limiting beliefs, which will result in you being free. Because guess what? Porn doesn't have that much control over you after you start realizing that, let's say, for one thing, willpower is false. What do I mean that willpower is false? Well, firstly, let's look at willpower and why it doesn't work. When you see this graph, you see that there is a stress point, right? You start here, and then the stress slowly starts to increase and increase and increase, and this 40 is your willpower limit, right? So you breach that willpower limit, and then you realize, okay, I cannot do anything more, and hence I will relapse, and hence you start the cycle all over again. But this time, let's say you trained your willpower by going to the gym, by running a marathon or some crap, and hence your willpower went from 40 to 60, and you end up doing that again. And whilst it resulted in you lasting a bit longer this time, it still didn't result in you being freer. Because this cycle of constantly just increasing your willpower and then the stress in your life slowly increasing will continuously eat you and eat you and eat you, and it will never end. So what's better is that you finally realize that pornography, especially if you continue to use willpower, is that you will always have a reason to use it, because there will always be more problems, more reasons, more justifications, which will continue to build up and build up and build up until you think, I can't handle it anymore, I need my pornography, my friend, my crutch, the only thing I can trust in, blah blah blah, something like that, and hence you will break down again. Now there are 2 points to why I'm talking about willpower. The first is that willpower doesn't work. The second is that willpower doesn't exist. Now, the idea that willpower is limited comes from research all the way from the 1960s, which was later known as ego depletion, meaning that your ego, your sense of self, has a limited sense of willpower, of the ability to put up with hardship, and the more that you expend throughout the day, the less willpower you will have for other tasks. This sounds logical because a lot of the things that we interact with, like food, like water, like all of these other things, we use them, then that means that we won't have the ability to use them later. But our mind works differently. Multiple replication attempts with over 2,000 participants failed to find similar results, and a meta-analysis, which is literally taking multiple papers like and studies, and even a meta study, a meta-analysis, which is basically looking at multiple papers like this 2,000 participant study, and then looking at all of the results and figuring out what all of the data points to, and they found no solid evidence for ego depletion or the idea that willpower is limited existing. Ego depletion, do you know why it's so popular? Do you know why the idea that your willpower is limited and hence you need to spend it here and there like it's money and you need to be frugal with it or some crap? That idea became so popular because it justified mediocrity, because it justified people saying, okay, I have this amount of willpower, I will spend it on this, and then I will spend the rest of the time watching TV. That's why people love this idea, even if they may use it to justify hurting their lives. So if you look at newer studies, like from the last, so if you look at newer studies like from post 2010 and whatnot, it shows that it's a placebo. A placebo literally means that what we believe about something shapes how our body, how our psychology responds to it, right? So what we believe about willpower shapes how we function. If you limit your belief that you can only run 100 steps and after that you will fall, or after that you won't be able to run anymore, then that will limit your actions. So what is true willpower here? It is acting mindfully. It is being in the present moment and not putting expectations into the future that I will only be able to run 100 steps. What you need to do instead is just focus on this moment, this second, this step. And when you continue to do that, instead of 100 steps, you will be able to take 1,000. Acknowledging urges without acting on them means that you don't think immediately, I need pornography, I'm out of willpower. You separate away from it a little and you realize, I'm having a thought that I want pornography and that I have low willpower. And then you actually question that thought. Is it actually true? Is it based on reality? Is it based on the recent research like Hollins 2021, Hollins 2022, or any of the Job et al. Studies, or any of the Tang 2018 studies, or any of the Hager et al. 2010 studies, or anything else? Are they based on truth? If not, then why are you taking these thoughts seriously? The brain will just poop out thoughts. because that's what its job is, much like the heart's job is to beat. You don't need to take every single thought that it gives seriously. When you look at high performers like Goggins, like Kobe, Ray Dalio, Tim Ferriss, or Jocko, they credit meditation, mindfulness as the real foundation of discipline. So, mindfulness, if you start doing that, not in the terms that you start meditating for 5 minutes a day, so that's a good thing, but instead, you become mindful when you get an urge. You start separating yourself away from the urge. You start not identifying with it. You don't think, I need pornography, but instead, I'm having a thought that I need pornography. Why is it saying that? And when you start developing this habit, you will be far, far freer because you're not stuck in the cycle of fear. You're not stuck in the cycle of just believing the first thought that you get, which is most often based on brainwashings, misconceptions, or self-limiting beliefs. Now, one thing you ought to understand is that the conventional advice from r/nofap or any of the other places, the mainstream places, has advice which is good in theory but doesn't really work practically. Because let's look at the idea of tracking days, right? You are someone who tracks the days, who tracks the amount of hours or whatever since you have used porn, and you are still reinforcing that you're a porn user trying to quit, because tracking days will mean 300 days till I've nutted, 400 days till I've nutted. The problem with tracking days is that you still have the identity of a porn user who's trying to quit. Now, you want the identity of a free man, do you not? So why are you still addressing yourself like you are a porn user who's trying to quit, like you are someone who's stuck in this? You can't continuously tell yourself 90 days since nofap, 12 days since nofap, 3 days since nofap or whatever. By looking and tracking at the days, you're continuously telling yourself 90 days since fapping, 20 days since fapping, 30 days since fapping, and that makes your brain think, okay, there's just a certain amount of days that we're going to go to and then we're going to fap again. This is something that's meant to end. This is something that's meant to end because it's a challenge or whatever, and challenges aren't a lifestyle. Another thing is that it's all or nothing, which ends up hurting you more than it ends up fixing the problem, right? Because let's say you went 90 days since fapping and then you ended up nutting. That's 90 days of progress, 90 days of your brain healing, but you don't think of it like that because now you're on day zero. And because you're on day zero, you might as well fap again, and then again, and again, and again, and again. And now you think of yourself like a piece of shit. So what does a piece of shit do? This shame spiral doesn't work, and I will highly suggest that you don't follow it, because what this does is not quit but just delaying relapse. It's this day one thinking which is keeping you in the loop, not out of it. It's this kind of instant gratification thinking which will not help you, right? So another thing which is slightly better but still has problems is tracking the amount of nuts that you do, right? Which is slightly better because you can see the overall pattern of your nuts decreasing, and that's way better because it focuses on reducing the behavior. Tracking monthly is way better because you are actually seeing progress. You actually understanding that, okay, just because I nutted this one time doesn't mean that my progress is gone. It's still on a downward trend, and that means that I will eventually quit. Now, this is way better than the previous all or nothing approach, but it still has problem. This one focuses on reducing the behavior but not replacing identity, and it slows the process. It prolongs the pain and it doesn't break the loop. Because guess what? Pornography is based on identity, is based on self-limiting beliefs, and it's based on fear. Now, this addresses one of them, and slowly the other two will go away. But I'm betting that when a time of your life is like really, really bad, you will eventually go back to it. The thing is that pornography is a very learned behavior. You don't think that I'm sad, so hence I need to use cocaine. I'm awake at midnight, so I need to use heroin or whatever. You don't think that. That's absurd, right? Same is the thought process that you used to have with pornography, but eventually due to social media saying that it's good, due to you finding it out at a young age and not knowing what to make of it or anything else, you have this identity, this self-limiting beliefs related to it which are not addressed and will eventually come to bite you. So you need to get rid of them, and you need to get rid of these brainwashings, and you need to again think of pornography as something as absurd as using as heroin. Less porn is still porn. The goal is none, not moderation. Total transformation will take not just addressing the nut itself, but the reason why they're caused. So what you need to do is figure out the benefits of pornography, right? You have this idea of things which probably make pornography bad for you, and probably the reason why you're trying to quit it. So for example, it makes you more aggressive. There's some vague stuff like delta force B, your brain damage or whatever, but these are not the reasons why you're doing it. The only two reasons we do anything is because it either has some sort of emotional benefit or it has some sort of emotional drawback, right? We do not know what delta force B means. We don't care about if it will make us aggressive later. We care about, our brain cares about more immediate gratification, more immediate consequences, right? So actually start thinking about the benefits of pornography, because that's the reason you're using it. The reason that you brush, for example, is because you don't want your mouth to smell bad. You don't want to get the pain from being sick or whatever, and hence that's why you continue to brush daily. So what you need to do is figure out similar reasons as to why you're using pornography or why you justify using pornography. The first could be stress relief. For example, you figured out that stress isn't actually relieved, and if you see in the long term, stress will increase from using pornography because you're not addressing the inherent problem as to why these stress reasons exist in the first place. So stress relief is actually a con. Education is not really based on anything. You should read a book for that. That will be far, far better. Trust me on that. And concentration, you're not really getting that. You're getting a more of a short-term boost. If you actually care about concentration, something like getting the endorphins from gymming or getting cold showers is far better because it's way more long-lasting and you will have a far more productive session. Porn is a friend. Now these are the emotional beliefs. These are the ones that you tell yourself emotionally, right? These are the ones that actually, when you start questioning these, when you start getting rid of them, are the ones which will have the most benefit. The logical kind of justifications about pornography have some leeway, some leverage in your brain, but these are not the inherent reason why you're using it. Every single thing we do is because of emotional benefit. We don't want ourselves to judge badly, that's why we brush. We don't want to have the pain of sickness from not brushing, that's why we brush. So porn is a friend, is some belief that you may have about it. Why do you have such a belief about it though? Is it because you were very lonely as a child? Is it because you didn't have a lot of friends? Is it because you were bullied or something and that's why you turned to pornography? So you figure out that, okay, maybe because I was a very bullied child or whatever, I use pornography, but I also realize now that it will not help me. It's actually going to make me lonelier. It's not going to make me happy, and it's going to likely reduce my chances of getting a girlfriend or at least a good one. So porn is not a friend. Porn is a toxic friend and it's not helping me. It harms no one. It's quite literally harming you. It's quite literally causing you brain damage. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it will harm other people. And I've heard stories about people not being able to do their job because of an addiction. I've heard stories about people getting into divorces because of it. That's more obvious. I've heard stories of people who weren't able to give their children or anyone else time because they were having problems with pornography or any other addiction. One example I often think of is this father who had problems with pornography. I read about it on a forum, and his child was scared of sleeping alone, so he came to his bedroom and he shooed his child away. He didn't give him love because he wanted to watch pornography. That's very, very sad. So these are beliefs, the emotional ones that you need to address. Same with low willpower. Low willpower is not based on truth. Low willpower is based on the lies that you're telling yourself, on the narrative that you're telling yourself, and one may be based on identity. But guess what? Identity can change, so can you. You have already changed. You don't watch the TV shows that you used to in your youth. You don't watch the same actors. You don't watch the same movies. You don't talk to the same people, blah, blah, blah. And so if you can change, then why can't your willpower? And then why can't the amount of mindfulness that you have? Maybe you don't need to match this guy, but like 25% of this guy is still pretty good. It will still give you a lot of results. So you need to understand that it has no benefit, and when you start doing that, there will be no benefits to using it but only negatives, and that will make pornography and quitting it way, way easier. The thing is that pornography is often based on fear, right? So it's more like a monster in the closet. Imagine you are a child and you have a very vivid imagination and you just see this sort of dark, creepy figure and you're very scared of it, right? But then what you do is that you turn on the light and you realize that it's just a teddy bear or something. And why were you scared of it in the first place? All of the fear wasn't based on reality, but instead in your mind. So you can easily control it. That's what you need to understand. Porn is not a demon. porn is a phantom we feed. There is no demon in an alcohol's bottle, right? It's just a bottle of rotten carbohydrates. So why are you so scared of it? As an example, there's no demon or vexer or whatever else. There's no demon or vixen in the phone screen. The phone screen is basically a silicon tablet with electricity running through it, and it gives a little bit of audio. That's all it is. So why are you so scared of it? You are the one controlling it. You are the one controlling your hand. You are the one controlling everything. The reason that these things have so much supposed power over us is because of self-limiting beliefs or ignorance and fear. We remove these things and it dies. And for that, you need to confront the deep-rooted beliefs that you have about it, the logical self-limiting beliefs you have about it, like I have low willpower or I have high libido or some crap, which isn't based on reality. I'm not denigrating you, I'm not insulting you, but testosterone and libido don't work the way you think they do. So when you start getting rid of these, when you start getting rid of the emotions, the self-limiting beliefs you have about it, you will be free, because you won't have any urges in the first place. There's now no reason for the brain to make urges about it, because it realizes that it's useless. It realizes that watching pornography is a zero-sum game. It gives me zero benefits. And the words that you use are a major part about the way you experience reality, about the way you see pornography, yourself, etc. There was this study in 1974, it's still accurate right now, where they showed people a video of a car crashing and then asked them to tell the speed or the estimations of the car that was going to crash into the other, right? And the word that they used to ask the question, could you please estimate the speed of the car that crashed into the other? Could you please estimate the speed of the car that collided or made contact or bumped or any other word? And what they found was that participants, which were more than 1000 plus, had different estimations of speed based on the words that we used to describe. They all watched the same car video, right? But the words that was used to describe the video by another person, by a question, like not even 30 seconds after the video, changed the way that they saw reality, changed the estimations of the laws of physics itself. So why can it not happen to you? For example, the people on whom were used to more violent words like smash were more likely to use and make false reports that there was glass or debris or anything else on the crash site. So are you seeing the power of words? If your immediate memory can be reshaped by words, then what of your very old memories based on trauma? Can those then not be reinterpreted, not with shame or hate for yourself, but with wisdom and love and understanding that those people were maybe hurt too, or something like that? What of the words that you're actively using right now to describe addiction? Why are you using words like addiction, like relapse, like gooner or addict? But instead, why not choice, freedom, benefits, power? I want power. My brain is choosing this because it sees something positive in this because of self-limiting beliefs. I am someone who wants freedom and my brain agrees with that. I want the benefits of something. And if there are no benefits on something, then I'll easily quit it because there are only cons. Another framework that I can give you to actually understand it is the triune brain model, which means 3 in 1. And this is a little psychologically outdated, but as a way of thinking, as a way of quitting addiction, I think it can be very useful. So what you need to understand is that our brain has roughly 3 quadrants or 3 ways of thinking. The first is the human or logical brain, which is the recent, the most latest addition to our brain. The second is the mammalian or emotional brain, which has the history of a few million years. And the third is the reptilian or the primal brain, which is by far the oldest. These all care about different things. The human or logical brain cares more about logic, cares more about maths or more advanced functions like languages and whatnot, right? The mammalian brain cares more about the emotions, cares more about community, about loneliness, blah blah blah. The reptilian brain cares more about having a tribe, about having power, about passing on your lineage and whatnot, right? Now, the part of you which holds the most power is subjective, right? For most people, though, I've seen that it's the emotional brain. And hence, when the emotional brain is in charge, it will gaslight the reptilian brain and the logical brain to make bullshit up, for a lack of better words. So for example, the emotional brain wants to use porn because of loneliness or whatever, right? So it will tell the logical brain to make up some lies so that you continue to use it, right? And those lies could be something like, I have low willpower, I like using pornography, it's good for me, it improves my prostate or some crap. And 99% of the lies that it gives are based on falsehoods, are based on half-assed data, are based on very wide and very vague misinterpretations of data. For example, the prostate study or whatever, that pornography and masturbating specifically improves your chances of not getting prostate cancer, is based on a study that was very old, is based on a study that was criticized to have very bad data, is based on a study which was based on a damn survey. It wasn't an actual study, it was based on a survey, not reality. Can you actually imagine that? It was based on self-reports in which people can lie, in which people can do a lot of things. And it was just talking about people in Canada. It wasn't taking into account all of the other people with different lifestyles, with different hobbies, with different cultures and whatnot, which can easily change how much the statistical chances of, let's say, getting something like prostate cancer is. This is a nerd rant. I'm sorry. I won't bore you with other things, okay? If I cut off your hand, you will feel pain, yeah, but that's just the nerves of the pain and whatnot traveling up to your brain to fix it. But that doesn't mean that the pain is you. That doesn't mean that the hand is you. It's useful for evolution, for psychology, to trick you into thinking, into identifying with yourself. But you, in reality, are not like that. What you are is the consciousness. You are not the video game character. You are not the video game character with the same trauma, with all of the same flaws and whatnot, but the one holding the controller. And hence you can change the character to be better, you can change the character to be worse, and that is completely 100% in your power. You are the general of these three soldiers inside of your brain, and if the soldiers have self-limiting beliefs, then it's your job to get rid of them. Parts of the brain are like organs, wherein the mammalian brain's job is to get emotional thoughts, with the reptilian brain's job is to make sure that you survive, the logical brain's job is to make sure that you thrive in society and civilization and blah blah blah. So what you need to understand is that these are all tools, much like the heart is, or the lung is, or the stomach is, and they have certain jobs, like the stomach digests, the heart beats, the eyes see, and so their jobs is making sure that you survive. But if they have bad information, much like the stomach or the digestive system, if it has bad food, then you will suffer. So how do you fix this? There's three things. The first is that you take a pen, take a paper, and you journal, not just dear diary bullshit or like three things I'm grateful of or whatever else, but instead journal about why you're watching pornography, why do you think that it's a positive in your life. You may say that it's a negative, it has hurt me, blah blah, but you wouldn't be using it unless it had some sort of benefit. Second thing is you become like 25% of a Buddhist, and that will have a lot of benefits for you. And the primary benefit is that you want to become mindful in your general life. You want to become mindful with your thoughts, with your anxiety, with your fear, and understand that it's not I'm fearing, but instead I'm having thoughts that I fear about something in front of me, or I fear this or that. And you also need to realize that, okay, the fear actually doesn't matter. 99% of the times you will realize that, okay, I am in a very safe place, I am well fed, I'm drinking water, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, blah blah blah, and there is nothing scary about the place that I'm in right now. The work is later, I am in the present. I don't need to care that much about the stress. I can easily solve it. I have the ability to, I have unlimited willpower, I haven't any self-limiting beliefs when I'm like this, blah blah blah. And when you start doing that, you will have far less urges. You will have, and the urges that you do get will have far less power. I have told you all of this, and I cover this in way greater detail in my course, which is on pre-sale right now, as I told you in the beginning. The reason why I started Dominant Mind is because when I was using pornography, I was in a very, very bad place, and to the point that and I don't want other people to go through that. I don't want other people to get to that point. So if you think that you are having a lot of problems with pornography, that's holding you back in every single domain of your life, that it has so much power over you, and you want a guide in fixing this, then sign up for it. The link is below, and cheers.